This episode is brought to you by Omax Cryo Freeze. Also, don't forget to get your night pants and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. There'll be links at the end of this episode. Now let's get into the do.
You're watching The HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler at your mom's house.
Welcome back to The HoneyDew, y'all. We're over here at Studio Jeans doing it at your mom's house. I'm Ryan Sickler. Ryan Sickler on all social media, ryansickler.com. Rocking that quarantine hair and the facial hair as long as my hair has been in decades. If you have not seen the Tom Segura episode, check it out, obviously, first of all. But second of all, there's some very important information regarding the HoneyDew. I'm going to be moving the HoneyDew over to my YouTube channel. So at the end of this episode, there'll be some subscribe links. You can click right on them there. There'll also be some subscribe links in the written description as well. And I'll be blasting it all as well. June 1st will be over there, but in the meantime, we'll keep doing it over here at your mom's house. And while we're on lockdown, I don't know what the cure I say to the coronavirus is, but the cure to comfort to the coronavirus is HoneyDew night pants, y'all. Available at the store, merch store. Got some classic tees there, hoodies, evergreen shirts, and everything going on over there. RyanSickler.com. Hit the store, get your HoneyDew night pants. Take pictures of them, send them to me. I'll blast them out there. And they're not just the cure for comfort during the quarantine. They're 24/7 at this point. If night pants aren't acceptable wear, I think when we get out of this, I'm going to do a HoneyDew night pants tour. We all just stay in our night pants, and you can come meet me and greet me and get a new pair at the show. Anyway, what we do here is we highlight the lowlights. I always say these are the storytellers. These are the stories behind the storytellers. And today's storyteller, I'm very excited. First time here. Not the first time at your YMH, but the first time here on the HoneyDew. Ladies and gentlemen, BlueBan himself, Nadav Itzkowitz. Welcome to the HoneyDew, y'all.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, man.
You sit back there and you laugh a lot all the time. I had never met you prior to coming to YMH, which also blows me away.
Yeah.
Because I've done the show so many times, but you were always somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, that was back when I used to do everything remotely.
Yeah. So now, and God help us, we don't have to go back to doing that.
Yeah.
With this fucking shit. But I can't wait to get to know you because you sent me very professionally, sent me your stories ahead of time like everybody else does.
Well,
and I did not expect it from you.
I produced the show, Ryan. I
do.
know what you need to get good show.
You're right.
So I'm trying to give you what you need.
And I just want you to know you're the one that had to pass of not having to do that. But you did. You're motherfucking professional.
I wouldn't
dog.
do that. Have you like walk in blind into this?
Yo, here's what I want to talk about.
I'm not a comedian, you know? I'm not a professional storyteller. So, I mean, hopefully this comes out good, you know?
It's already going great.
Great.
But before we get into your storytells, because you do have some good stories to tell, please plug, promote, whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, okay. Plugs, Jesus. Well, if you want to follow my Twitter, it's mostly just YMH stuff on there. YMH BlueBan. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Very Nadav Show. If you want to see me play video games and stuff on Twitch, twitch.tv/Very Nadav Show, and that's pretty much it.
All right. So I want to start at the beginning with you because I don't know much about you. First of all, you have the most Jewish name I've ever even heard of in my entire life. Like when Tom first gave me your name, I was like, come on, dude. You know, it's Tom. So I was like, come on, bro. Itzkowitz, for real. There's still one of these guys out there.
Dude, when I first heard my name, I thought the same thing. I'm like, you have got to be fucking kidding.
All right. So where are you from originally? Are you from California originally?
Yeah. Born and raised in Santa Monica. Both my parents are Israeli. They moved here in the 70s.
Why? Why did they leave?
I mean, it's a good question.
And did they come right to California?
Yeah. So my dad's a jeweler. So, I mean, I don't know the exact
hitting all
story.
the motherfuckers.
Yeah, right, dude? Literally hitting all of them. Hitting all of them, man.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So he was a jeweler, and I think he moved here to try and go into business with some of his partners, I think, like from back in Israel. Like, let's start shit in America. Also, I'm not 100% sure. I never really asked. I never really cared.
Gotcha.
So
how about your mom? What did your mom do?
My mom was it was like a stay-at-home mom for most of it. You know, she raised 4 kids. I'm the youngest of 4 kids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then eventually, like, she started getting back into the workforce, like working in like marble and tile stuff. Worked a couple like summer construction jobs working for her and the neighbor. But yeah, just kind of like born and raised in LA. Yeah.
And what was your upbringing like? I mean, were you schooled
Jewishly? Yeah.
not just Jewishly, but strictly? Like, was it all like? Did you? Because I know we did public school, and then I was made to go to Sunday school.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So what was schooling like? Being a young kid, and you were born here though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had private Jewish education my entire life. It was very important to, I don't know if to both my parents, but at least to my dad that grow up Jewish. It was important to my mom too. So they're like, let's raise them around Jews and all that. Take them to a Jewish school that teaches them how to pray, how to speak Hebrew, how to do all that stuff.
Yeah, because you can't pull. People don't know off cameras that I like when you count me in Hebrew.
Hebrew was my first language. You know,
It was first.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
Always spoken in the home and stuff like. Never English in the home.
Yeah, that's how we were raised. Like always spoke Hebrew to my parents. But you know, being the youngest of 4 kids, they kind of started getting lazy once they got to me, where there's a lot of pictures of my siblings growing up, fewer pictures of me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I was the only kid that really got in trouble, like testing the limits. Like, my mom always said that I kept it interesting. That I just did stuff that my siblings never did, like get in trouble with friends. You know, that's probably the gist of it. Getting into a lot of trouble with friends.
So English you're being taught in the school system only then, and you speak Hebrew at home.
Right. Well, I mean, like we have Hebrew class at Jewish school. But because Hebrew was my first language, I didn't really learn anything new there. Like by the time I got to high school, they were just having us read Israeli newspapers in class. Like they weren't teaching us anything. It's just like, here's today's paper, read it.
Really? Mm-hmm. Damn.
Yeah.
So what is that like? I mean, did you guys have sports teams? Did you guys have like?
We didn't have a football team.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
what was your?
Not allowed to touch it. Not allowed to touch that pigskin.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Well, I mean, actually, in all honesty,
Is it even really pigskin anymore?
I think back then it was just starting to transition
To leather?
because I
Are
graduated.
you allowed to touch leather?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's also it. Like when I first started growing up, it was just like, hey, we keep kosher. And then it was, it evolved into, hey, we keep kosher in the house. Then
You can have an Egg McMuffin on the outside.
Then it evolved into, hey, we keep kosher on Fridays on the Sabbath. And then it evolved to like, we can have shrimp sometimes,
So I learned more about the Jewish culture, religion, everything when I worked at this hotel. I worked at I think it's a Lowe's now, but it was at the corner of Beverville and Pico. Mm-hmm. And it was called
the J part of town.
Yes, bro. I didn't know. It was
I'm
called.
sorry to hear that.
It was called the Beverly Prescott at the time.
You worked there?
I worked front desk, and then I concierge. I'm light bartending,
Man.
like beer and rail drink bartending.
They say the service industry, you learn how to deal with people,
Man,
but doing the service industry in like the Jewish part of town is probably the worst experience. Like I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Dude,
How terrible were they?
aggressive as fuck. And I'm ignorant to even my own religion that I grew up with being Catholic. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what are the curls and stuff? What's the hat? What's the this? And I would ask
What's up with all the smells?
threads
Why do you guys
hanging?
smell like that?
So what I didn't know though was your Sabbath was it sundown Friday to sundown Saturday? Mm-hmm. So then the Pico would come alive, like Nagila Pizza be open at 9:00 at night, but late, and all the people would be coming. I was like, oh, so I learned that. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't know about the electricity and stuff, like very orthodox.
Did you get recruited to be a Shabbos goy?
I don't even know what that is. You can tell me in a second. But I fucked up. I think I may have. I think I've ruined somebody's religion.
Tell me more.
Wherever you all go and you die, that guy's not getting there. So I didn't know about the electricity, and our front doors were such that if you push them, just gave them a nudge, they would then electronically carry the rest of the way. And I guess we were supposed to have them open on the Sabbath, but sundown Friday to Saturday. Well, I didn't know
Fuck that. Make them work.
I had them shut, and I didn't know. And the guy came and pushed the door, and when it was, he went, he started, dude, he was shitting himself. And I was like, I'm thinking like, yeah, buddy, isn't that pretty cool? You just touch him and they open up. But he's shitting himself because he just used electricity on the Sabbath. And he proceeds to come over and explain to me, you can't have that. You got to tell us. I was like, yeah, man, what? He's telling me everything. I'm like, I didn't know.
Amazing.
Then he finally calms down, and he was going for a minute. He calms down. He goes up to his room with his wife and the kids, and they can't use the electricity, so he can't see in the room. So he asks me if I can come up, and there's a light that was on. He said, can you please come turn it off? We're going to light candles. I was like, no problem. But where the bathroom was in the room was back a little bit, so I turn it off. And I'm waiting. And he's like, you can leave. I'm like, I can't see. Could you light the candle so I can get the fuck out of this room? And he doesn't.
They're like, no.
And I go to walk out, dude. I trip over their fucking. It's pitch black. I trip over their luggage. I fall. I'm in a suit and shit. It's a Beverly Hills hotel.
This is
crazy.
And
I have to look for this is true. I have to look for the light under the door. And I walk over and I get out. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, that was my introduction to Orthodox.
Well, another thing you should know about Orthodox people is that there's a loophole for all of this bullshit that inconveniences them.
What is that?
So a Shabbos Goy is they pay someone to do all this shit for them during the Sabbath that isn't Jewish.
Well,
so they literally pay someone
his credit,
like
he
you.
Did come down and tip me after for the inconvenience. He did when he left.
I bet
when
he
did.
He
did.
And then he was like,
say that.
here's 20 for this week, and here's 20 for next week, and here's 20 for the week after that.
They do?
Yeah, they pay someone to just do it. Like, hey, every Friday you come here, turn everything on for us. Like, turn our oven on to like the lowest setting, because they can't turn it on, but they can adjust the flames. So they're like, just put on the pilot light, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
It's all stupid loopholes.
I mean, what kind of things did you have people like that in your life growing up?
No, I didn't grow up Orthodox.
So it got looser and looser is what you were saying.
Right. Like we just kept kosher in the house at first.
Gotcha.
And then, by the time I graduated
you
high
used
school,
electricity on Sabbath.
Yeah, dude, we're not pieces of shit. We're not like, fuck all this technology. We'll get rid of it for 24 hours. Fuck that, dude.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that, and I learned it in that neighborhood over there. They taught me a lot in that neighborhood over there.
Yeah, that neighborhood sucks. I try and keep my distance from there.
Yeah, that's a very...
Because I look really Jewish. So, like, if you walk around there and you're Jewish, they're going to try and recruit you for, like, a prayer session. Because they can't start a prayer session until they have 10 male Jews. So if you see, like, Orthodox people walking around these Jewish neighborhoods and they're like, are you Jewish? That's why they're asking.
Oh.
They're like, because we need a 10th, and you need to come with us.
Right.
Terrible people.
I learned all about the Museum of Tolerance there. Have you ever had to go there?
Yeah, I think we went there in 4th grade to see all the shoes.
You had to do a field trip there.
Yeah.
Shoes.
Look at all these wasted shoes.
All right, well, we have some good stories to get into here. So let's hear. I'll just go. You can go in order. Do your thing.
All right. So the first one, so this was the first time I was rejected in asking a girl out. This was around 9th grade, around Purim, which is Jewish Halloween.
I've seen Home for Purim.
Yeah, okay. And my school, my school did a carnival, a Purim carnival. Mm-hmm. And I was really into this girl at the time. It was 9th grade, and I hadn't asked anyone out before.
And where was your high school? What high school is this?
It was Milken, like by Skirball. And so I remember, like, I was like, I'd convinced myself, like, man, I really like this girl. I'm going to ask her out. And I didn't even enter my mind.
Did you have class with her, or how'd you know?
No, she was, like, in my circle of friends and stuff. I'm like, man, I think I'm really into this girl. So Purim Carnival came around. And I was just like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask her to go out once, like, like we're gonna get on the Ferris wheel together. I'm gonna ask her when we're on the Ferris wheel, and it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, she's feeling
Didn't
good.
even enter my mind that no is an option, because this is my first time doing it. I thought this is how it goes. And so we get on the Ferris wheel, and immediately I start getting stage fright. I'm like, oh my god, just start sweating, and like it's not that hot. It's not that hot. We're in Los Angeles. It's like maybe a cool 70, 72. And I'm like, hey, so like, do you have a boyfriend and stuff? And she's like, no. I'm like, oh. And she's like, but there is someone that I want to ask me out. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh, here's my chance.
And I'm like, all right, here we fucking go. And I was like, well, if you ever like wanted to go to a movie and stuff. And then she cuts me. She's like, oh no, this guy named Charlie. And I'm like,
oh god.
And we're still at the bottom. The Ferris wheel like hasn't really started moving yet. And then like as soon as she says no, boom, first movement. Like we're now like
loading
one
everybody
level up.
You still gotta go. You gotta let everybody on and then take a few rides around. Oh, dude, that is brutal.
So
you had
for
to sit in that shit.
10 to 15 minutes of me just sitting in my shit, not knowing what I'm doing. I'm now sweating way more. I'm like I'm in paralysis mode. I can't move. I can't talk. I'm just like, I did not know it could go like this. And yeah, just totally fucked me up for a long time. Shattered my confidence.
I believe it, man. That's fucking brutal.
Yeah, it was
sit in there
traumatic.
like that. You didn't
Ryan.
get to get a no and walk away. You're
Right.
just like got to sit next to the girl that was like, no, not you though.
Yeah, and like my only takeaway from that was just like, got to ask him at the end of the Ferris wheel ride.
Yes. After they've had a good time. Like,
Yeah.
No, it's not
Like
you.
maybe asking like a marriage proposal works well at the beginning of a
Sure,
Ferris wheel ride,
yeah.
because at least they like
You
you.
had it. No, it's not you, but can I still cheat off you on that? Yeah, you can.
But yeah, that terrified me. Didn't ask another girl out till like college.
For real?
Yeah,
That
fucking
long, 4 years,
Yeah,
huh?
it traumatized me. It was like the first time I asked someone out. I'm like, oh my god, this went terribly wrong. And ever since then I've just like lacked confidence in that department. But it's been getting better.
Are you dating now?
I'm dating around.
All right.
Go out here and there. Like nothing steady right now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the Ferris wheel story. That's the
God
first time I
damn,
ever asked
dude.
someone out.
And then just sit there while some meth addicts cranking, fucking letting people on. That's
Oh yeah,
it.
that reminds me. So the girl that I asked out, I was just like, man, she's the one that got away. A couple years later, she started hooking up with some senior. They filmed themselves doing something. She got sent to Utah for a year or two, and then she came back and became my weed dealer. I forgot that's how that
That's
story
a Ferris wheel of itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, you should have said yes, right? Could have been way different for you, girl.
Saw that video, by the way, girl. Hilarious.
Nah, she's nice. She's great.
Isn't it? Every time it's funny. I think about as a parent now, carnivals. Like, I went to. It was always a carnival right by us that we always would go. It was always the best thing, And I never understood why the guys operating always had really nice teeth. I'm like, God, you look like shit, but your teeth. And it didn't dawn on me till years later. Like, oh, we're all meth. Running the fucking zipper and shit while we're just going in the
Meth
space.
mouth, yeah.
I had as I got older, I wouldn't do it, but I had a friend of mine. Her name's Christy, and she and her roommate at the time lived up the street from me. I knew them from Maryland, but they had moved out here, and they were going to the carnival. And they're like, "You're gonna get on the rides?" I was like, "I'm not getting on those fucking rides." And they're like, "Why?" And I go, "Look, these people, if something happens, they're gone. They're going to disappear into the night. They're out of there. You're never going to see them. Everyone's going to tell you they don't know who the fuck they
Right.
are. You don't know if they have insurance. You don't know anything. If you get hurt on that ride, you're fucked." No, that's not going to happen. I was like, "Look, dude, I'll go walk around with you, but I'm not getting on the rides." And they're like, "Okay, this is a true story." So the three of us walk over to this carnival. It's in the Valley in Sherman Oaks at the time, that big park in Hazeltine. It's a huge park, and they've got a monster carnival. It looks great, the octopus and the Ferris wheel and the zipper and all this shit, the swings. So they go to get on. I remember this very vividly. They buy their tickets, and as they're walking up to the zipper, there's this fire truck and this ambulance are just hauling ass by, and I jokingly go, oh, they're here. That's for here. And then they go by, and then they turn around and they come back because they missed it. And as they're walking, I see this person laying on the ground next to the swings, and the zipper's what they're getting on, and it's right next to the swings. And Christy had a ponytail. I only remember it because I'm looking at this person laying on the ground who's not moving, and they don't see it. And I snag her ponytail. She goes, ow! She goes, what? I go, that. She's like, oh my God. And it is right next to them getting on the fucking zipper. But the dude on the
find
zipper,
out that the zipper's just like, no, he started on the zipper and he got flung. He got flung in front of this one.
the swings are right next to the zipper. And the dude running the zipper doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, 2 tickets. You know, there's a body laying right. He's like, 2 tickets. I go,
like
you guys are still
shit,
going to
like
get on?
them.
They get on. They're doing the zipper. And here comes the fucking ambulance and the fire truck. And this person flew off the swing, fell off to something. Or someone hit something with the swings happened. This person is laying there. They give him that, you know, the big neck brace, the one that comes up here and shit.
That they put on dogs.
Throw him on a board and get this person. There's a lady, I think it was, and get her out of there. And I'm like, what the fuck? I go, I fucking told you. I go, that lady's probably paralyzed. She'll probably never get a penny. And the next day, I go, we'll drive by here tomorrow. The next day, guess what was gone? The swings were gone.
Oh, but the rest of the carnival,
The carnival's still there.
That's insane.
The carnival's still there.
They're like,
the swings
just got to get rid of the evidence,
like,
buddy.
Gary, get the fuck out of here. We'll see you in Tucson, Gary.
You can't find a loose lug nut if there's no equipment there, bud.
Man, that shit was shady as fuck. So now, like, I used to love carnivals, but I don't know if I'd let my kid get on a fucking ride at the carnival
absolutely
these
not,
days.
man.
I really don't
Do
know.
not trust your kid's life with carnies.
That's a
With a
lesson right there.
drifter.
Yeah.
They are drifters.
They are.
It's a group of drifters.
It is, 100%.
Ah, shit.
All right, let's go on to, I want to hear about this one here, Lucky Pants.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'll just clarify, Lucky brand jeans or a lucky pair of pants?
Lucky pair of pants. And I'll tell you what makes them lucky.
All right.
So I told you that my mom worked in marble countertops and tile stuff. So
Yeah, went all blue collar on
yeah.
me there.
So for 2 summers during high school, I like worked for her. Like she worked for my neighbor, who was Israeli. It was an Israeli company, and I worked for that. I worked for them over the summer, and so I remember we had to do like a quality control because someone got a pallet of tiles. And they were like, hey, this shit's all fucked up. Well, why are you guys sending us this? So then they sent me and someone else's son that was working there over the summer to like go over to their location, go manually look through the pallets, multiple pallets of tiles. And any ones that look shitty, take them out. And then we know like they have good tiles and they have bad tiles and we'll replace the bad tiles. So I was like, okay. So it was literally going from like a bad pallet and then you turn around and you put it in the good pallet. Now, these pallets, I think, were put together by these factory people because there's just loose nails hanging out everywhere. Like, it's just dangerous. And I'm in, like, 11th grade, 10th grade. So I'm moving over from the bad pallet to the good pallet. And on one of my turns, I turn this way. And then, like, I turn right into an exposed nail that was on the good pallet. And it goes right through my crotch.
Damn.
I'm like, like, I felt a little poke. And I was like, that's not good. And like, I'm like, I'll be right back. And like, I go to the bathroom to check my balls to see if it's bleeding. And it's not, like, everything's fine, just grazed it. And I was just like,
that ball bag skin's tough.
these pants are now lucky pants. You know? Because now
That's how they became.
because it had a pinhole in my crotch. I'm like, that's how I know that's the
That's
lucky
the
one.
moment they became lucky, the
Yeah.
lucky pair of pants?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
the day that they kept my balls from rupturing was the day that they became lucky. So lucky pants. So I now wear these pants whenever I take a test because I'm like gotta feel lucky when I'm taking these tests. So fast forward a couple years, I'm now in college. I think I'm a sophomore. I'm a second year. Yeah, I'm a second year in college, and there was a test. There was a final that I had coming up. And one of my friends, she was in the class too. So I was, and she suggested, she's like, hey, how about you come like to the dorms? She was a freshman. Why don't you come over to the dorms and like we'll cram real quick, like right before we go in. So like the shit's just like fresh in our head. We'll go over the study guide. I'm like, that sounds like a good plan. So take my bicycle right over to her dorm. We start cramming. And then it's like, all right, let's go. It's time to go to the final. You know, it's like it starts in about 30 minutes. We should or 20 minutes, just something like that. Let's start heading over there. So I take my bike, and I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna slowly ride it instead of walking it next to you. It's gonna be more fun for me if I just slowly ride it next to her. So as I swing my leg over the seat, pants start ripping. My lucky pants
are now
at
unlucky.
the lucky hole. It rips from the lucky hole, and I'm just like, well, it's too late to go back.
And I
to
mean,
my
you're talking
apartment.
about like flaps open down the
So
thighs.
at first, it's just like maybe you could stick one of these in, like just like at the first couple knuckles, and I'm like, all right, this is fine. This is manageable. I could work with this during the final, and at that point, I should have decided to just walk the bike the rest of the way, but I'm an idiot, so I just slowly pedal, and with every pedal, I just hear tears and shit, and I just hear the hole getting bigger. I start feeling gusts of wind and stuff, and I'm like, this is not good. And so we get to the class, and I take my leg off, and as I swing my leg off, rips even more, and I'm like, this is getting really bad. You can now fist the hole in my crotch. You could fist it. You could put a whole entire fist in it. And so now I'm just like getting embarrassed. I'm like, this is now like, and I wear loose boxers. It's just like my dick. It could just be exposed, you know. It's like just, you know, cloth like bunches to one side, and it's like boom, balls are on this side. So I'm just speeding through this final. Like I don't think I've ever filled out a final.
Are you sitting with your legs crossed? Like what are you doing?
No, not cross. I think I was way too big
Just
to cross my legs in those tiny seats back then.
Tight like this?
Yeah, just squeezing my nuts together like this. And so
uncomfortable to take an exam.
I am plowing through this test. Finish before everyone. It's a class of like 200 people. First one done, like I think I did it in 30 minutes, handed it in, and like the teacher's assistant, I remember looking at me and they're like, are you sure? Like, do you want to look over this one more time before, like you have like 45 minutes left. I'm like, no, we're good. And so hand it in, and I'm like, I need to rush home. I feel disgusting. And so I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna full speed ahead. Go back home on my bike. And so I swing my leg over again on the bike, tears more. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going full.
I mean, what's left at this point?
It just keeps getting bigger. Like at first it's just the fist, then it's 2 fists, then it's 3 fists. Like the hole just gets bigger. And so I get on the bike, I start speeding along, and I feel like a crazy breeze. And I see people that I know on campus look at me. They're like, hey, Nadav. And then their eyes jerk down. They're like, hey, Nadav. Eyes jerk down. Hey, Nadav. Eyes like dart down. And I look down, and my cock and balls are just like, they're just swinging and hitting my legs.
Like there's a marionette on.
And I'm looking down, and I'm like, no wonder it feels so breezy.
It's so damn good. Got that.
And I'm like, this is terrible. And so I start like taking turns. I'm taking back roads, and I cut across this parking lot, and I'm just in a foul mood. And I see a seagull in the parking lot, like next to this SUV. I'm like, what the fuck is a seagull doing here? The fucking beach is like 10 miles away. What's going on here? So I'm like, I'm just gonna scare this seagull to get it like to fly again till I go back to the beach. Like I said, I was an idiot. I was a real idiot. So I on my bike, with this huge like 5-fist hole at this point in my jeans, I like turn around this SUV and just start kicking, and I see that there's a photography student crouched down trying to get a picture of this seagull. And so I hear clicks as I'm doing, like I'm not registering all this, and so there's probably a picture of me on a bike with my dick and balls hanging
Abusing
out,
a bird.
trying to like kick a fucking seagull, and I see him like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and then I just like keep on going home. And then I didn't even take the pants. I think I tore the pants off. I'm like, there's no
done.
such thing as lucky pants anymore.
Oh my
This was
God,
the lucky
dude.
pair.
I've never had my dick and balls hang out. I did have a.
It feels good.
Listen, there is nothing. This is the truth. I go hike a lot, and when I can, I go off and take a leak. There's nothing like the feel of wind on your dick.
It's so refreshing.
It is refreshing.
It was the
as fuck.
silver lining of
It
this
really
whole
is. There is
experience.
nothing like a nice breeze on your dick. There's just not.
It really does feel
There's
great.
not.
It's the best part about peeing outside.
Listen, do it in appropriate places.
Yeah.
Hide somewhere outside.
Yeah,
There's
find
nothing
a
like
good piss spot.
Nothing like the good wind whistling across your dick and your ball bag, man. I'm telling you, it feels amazing.
You're right,
like,
dude.
This is nice.
Yeah,
This
it
is
feels
nice.
great.
I'll shake it a couple extra times out here.
Yeah. That's how I destroyed my lucky pants.
I'm sorry.
Me too, man. Those
When
are
I
cool
was
pants.
also in college, I interned at a radio station in Baltimore. It was 100. It was GRX, then it became 100X.
Okay.
Classic rock or whatever. And those old DJ Potter will tell you the guys that smoke and all them. You know, I still see them when I go do morning radio and shit. And I'm outside talking to one dude. It was pretty cool, but he was just super dry. Just everything was very matter of fact, not much personality. And we're talking, and I never wore underwear back then, and I've got a pair of jeans on or whatever.
Never wear underwear? Like from a...
Just in day to day, I just wore pants. Like when I played sports, I wore underwear, but I didn't wear underwear.
Wild.
Started again after this, though. And we're talking for a while. He's smoking a cigarette. I'm outside. We're outside the studio. We're talking. I'm like, yeah, you know, shooting shit, whatever. And then finally he gets up and he's about to go in. He goes, by the way, your balls are hanging out of your pants. I go, what? I look down. I have a hole in my crotch, and my ball bag is just like squeezing out. And I was like, oh my God. The whole fucking time we're talking. People are walking by saying hello and shit out there looking. I was like, oh my God. I was like, you're a dick for not saying anything, dude. But I love you for that.
I just realized that happened to me too. I had...
Squeezing like that little...
Well, because I remember, like, I would have, you know, I was always fat. So, like, by being fat, you have pants where the crotch just starts wearing out, right? Mm-hmm. And so you see, like, a little tiny, like, the fabric's kind of coming out. And you're like, but whatever.
That
like,
weak spot.
Yeah.
That's a weak spot.
The weak spot. Yeah. You're like, whatever. That's going to be fine. And then the day that I realized it's not okay, as soon as you see the weak spot, you need to get rid of the pants. I remember this girl I was studying with, this was, like, in middle school. She was over, like we were studying for some test or doing some project, maybe a video project for a class. And she just looks at me and she's just like, your balls are hanging out. And I'm like, no fucking way. And I look down and just like, both balls are just out of my pants from the weak spot.
I made you remember. From the week they're just dipping out. Just
Totally
like
forgot
out.
it. I forgot that happened until you just brought that up. So yeah, I've been exposing myself from a young age.
Oh my God, dude. All right, you got another one up here about you're tearing a lot of shit apparently.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm just a mess, dude. Okay. All right. So here's the story on how I tore my ACL. So in college. So I had just finished college. And I had moved back home for a month. And then started working at a company called Weed Maps. That also,
I've used Weed Maps.
So that was my first job out of college. And so as soon as I graduated, like I was working like freelance for them, and then college ended, I moved back home, and then they're like, hey, do you want to go full time? Like a month after I moved home, I was just like, okay. So moved back to Orange County. And at that point, all my friends had already graduated, and I was in the Jewish fraternity at UC Irvine. So that was like pretty much like my connection to being social now. It's just like the kids that were younger than me, I could still kind of hang out with. Like I knew them from college, so it's just like, I could still like hang out with these people, you know? And so like the first day that I moved back to Orange County, one of my friends there was just like, hey, we're doing this Rush event over at this Sky High Sports. It's like a indoor trampoline arena.
Yep, I take the kids.
And so they're like, yeah, do you want to come? I'm like, that sounds really stupid. Like, I don't want to do the fraternity thing and like rush these 18-year-olds. But I do want to jump on a trampoline. So I was just like, yeah, let's fucking go. So my friend picks me up. We go to this trampoline place. And as we're walking in, I see this kid limping out, being held up by his friends. And my friend jokingly looks at me, he's like, that's going to be you. I'm like, oh, Greg. And so we go in, and the people are like, oh, are you here for the fraternity thing? Like, we're like, this place is shutting down in like 10 minutes. So you could really only jump for 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, we'll get it in. We'll get some good jumps in. So we go in, and like there's a flat trampoline, like the level one, and then there's angled ones, the side one. Yeah. And so I'm an idiot, stoned out of my mind. I'm being like, I'm an Olympic gymnast, pretty much. I could probably pull some crazy shit. And so I wanted to jump from the flat to the side, 360 back onto the flat.
Okay.
Eat shit 5 times in a row. I'm like, this should not be this difficult. I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna stick this landing. Jump from flat to side to flat. I'm like, I did it. But like as I land, felt my knee explode. Oh. Just like all these different pops, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. and then I put weight, and then I put weight on it, and I collapse. And I'm like, oh shit, something bad just happened. I see all these people running towards me, and because I'm on a trampoline, as soon as they start running on the trampoline, I'm getting bounced up, and I'm like, oh, my leg. Oh, my leg. And so apparently, like, one of the people in the fraternity was pre-med, which was the closest thing to a doctor that we had at the place. He's just like, let me see this. Could you go like this? Could you go like that? And I'm like, yeah, this all hurts. He's like, you're going to need to go to the hospital. Do you know who's going to take you? I'm like, yeah, the fucking friend who told me that I was going to injure myself. That's right. Who's taking
Greg.
me. Yeah, fucking Greg.
Yep.
So Greg takes me to the emergency room, and turns out it's a real like people are not having a good time in the emergency room, except for us. They put me in a wheelchair. I have my thing like up. I'm like, oh, dude, this is wild, man. This is crazy. What do you think happened to my knee? Like, I just don't care. And in the meantime, there's all these people that are like,
the guy's got an arrow in his head.
Actively dying from alcohol poisoning, in the emergency room. Everyone's just looking at us like, what the fuck are these Jews so fucking happy about?
We can't say anything. It'll be a goddamn hate crime. These balls are hanging out, for Christ's sake.
Balls, knees, everything's hanging out. And so I go in, they ice it, and they're like, look, something really serious happened here. You need to go to like an orthopedic or.
They wouldn't even see you there.
Well, they were like, look, we're gonna ice it,
prep you, and get you out of here.
They're like
specialist.
They're like, we could either take an MRI or like take an X-ray or take whatever. I think they took an X-ray, and they're just like, bone's not broken. And they're like, what about the other stuff? They're like, well, that's gonna be like a $5,000 whatever the fuck. And the Jewish guy in me that just moved to Orange County, just started a new job. I'm like, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
So go home with an ice pack on my knee, and that was it. And so
you never bothered to go see anybody?
I started work literally the next day. Ryan was my first day at work.
Like I watched. So one of the girls that babysits my daughter, I got like a team on. What's up, Alessandra? She did the same thing. She was roller skating, did the same shit. I picked her up from the ER one night just to bring her home. Had to help her carry her up the fucking stairs, and then she didn't go to the doctor. She just stayed. Same thing. And it ended up when she finally did, the guy's like, well, you really fucked up. Yeah. Like, I get why you didn't, but what you did was make all your other muscles fuck up. Like, I'm telling you, her ass cheek disappeared. She had one ass cheek and the other, she couldn't like bring her to nothing. But she could still hobble around on it. So that's why I watch a lot of football, and I see like guys that go down, they get up, and people are like, well, they're walking off the field. I'm like, you can walk on a torn ACL.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You could walk on it for a full year like I did.
A year, bro?
A full year, right? Well, like, here's what
But are you limping?
Yeah. Okay. Dude, my knee is locking up once a day to the point where I have to like roll on the floor till I hit that sweet spot, and it like unlocks.
And hit you Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, bro?
People would be looking at me. They're like, what are you doing? And then like one of my friends who worked with me like is like, no, this is the thing. His knee's locked up, so he just needs to like wiggle around till it comes back. And I was doing that for a full fucking year. And then like
you're limping all day long when you walk. You have
every single day of my life. I'm
no normal walk.
No.
And your parents
every
up
step,
your ass.
every step,
Does
every
it hurt
step
also,
hurts.
Though?
Yeah.
It hurts.
And then also in my neighborhood there was a trampoline. Every step hurt. And in my neighborhood there were trampolines.
I'm touching my knee.
I'm telling you, Ryan, I have PTSD. Whenever I see a kid jump on a trampoline, I'm like, oh, watch out! That's how you blow out your knee.
Calm down.
Don't do that. That's how you fuck up your knee.
Yeah.
Like literally, that's just like I see people. Even just seeing jumps, it like throws me back to like, oh my god, that was the worst pain of my life.
So what happens when you finally do see it?
So I quit. Like I was.
And what knee is it, by the way?
My left one.
Okay.
So my less dominant knee.
I was going to say the one you don't have to drive with if you have an automatic.
The one I don't have to
foot.
jerk off with. Yeah. So I quit Weed Maps because I was like, I don't want to do like this weed job for my entire life. So I decided to move back to LA. And once I moved back, I was just like, I should probably get this knee thing checked out, huh? And so I go there and they're like, we think it's your meniscus. So let's do surgery, scoop at your meniscus, and then see how you feel after that.
That's all they thought. See, I actually had in 9th grade, I had arthroscopic because I tore a little bit of my meniscus.
Yeah, I got like 3 little cuts on my knee.
Yeah, 3 little cuts, and then it's in and out, but it was no fucking major surgery.
Right. So they scooped at the meniscus, and then afterwards they were like, walk around on it. How does it feel? I'm like, a little unstable.
But they didn't see it when you were in there?
Well, because they're like, we see a bunch of shit that's wrong here, but we think we could get away with just scraping out your meniscus because an ACL reconstructive thing takes much longer to heal from, I think is how I remember it. So they scooped at the meniscus. They had me walk around on it, and they're like, how's that feel? I'm like, unstable. And they're like, that's the word that means your ACL is still fucked up. And so recovered.
You could feel it, like it just felt weak, like it could give out at any moment.
Yeah, just anytime I stepped on it, like because what your ACL does is it keeps your knee from bending the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So when I stepped on it, I was just like, it doesn't feel like there's anything keeping it from bending the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, that's the ACL. So then got into surgery, and like it was 6 months to recover from like the meniscus thing, and then they're like, cool, now get your ACL done. Took another 6 months to recover from that. So I'm like, just moved home, pretty much not working, and got 2 knee surgeries.
Jesus
living
Christ.
With my parents.
And how long were you out of commission for that?
First it was the meniscus and then it was the ACL. I was out for a year.
So you would have been back if you'd have just gone and done it originally. Damn. Yeah. So you put yourself in that for 2 years, really.
Story of my life. Yeah, I make things worse.
And has it held up since? Have you ever had problems with it?
It's good now. You know, I did like physical therapy because like you said, like you get if you're limping for a full year, your muscle structure starts changing.
Yes.
So like I had like an open gait, like I had to like correct myself on how to walk so that like I don't fuck up my skeletal structure.
Yeah. I had the surgery. I still have problems with it. Like I can't sit.
Sometimes you walk on it funny. Like you take a weird step and you're like, it's coming back.
Mine does what yours did. Mine will still pop out of socket, and I have to lay on the floor and I have to slowly straighten it until it goes boom, and you can hear it, you can see it jolt and shit. It fucking hurts. It still happens. So it's like
I'm no doctor. That sounds like a meniscus problem to me.
It probably is, but that's your motherfucker staying. You know.
Yeah, I mean it's just like.
I jog on it. I hike on it.
It's like doing surgery on like a 15-year-old dog. You know, it's just like, what are we doing?
What are we doing? When I'm in my 60s, I'll get it all replaced. Do the hip, do the knee. You know, we'll get it all done at once. Dude.
I'll wait for one more thing to go wrong before I fix this thing.
Let's take a quick break and tell you about our sponsor, Omax Cryo Freeze. Now more than ever, it's critical to take care of yourself and avoid unnecessary trips to the doctor, chiropractor, and masseuse. Social distancing is having an effect on everything these days, and nothing is more important right now than keeping your body healthy and pain-free. So if you're sitting at home suffering from aches and pains, from arthritis, backaches, muscle soreness, or joint pain, and you want to try a drug-free solution, then you owe it to yourself to try the product that you're probably hearing about across so many podcasts. CryoFreeze CBD Pain Relief Roll-On is an all-natural topical pain reliever that instantly ices out the pain with a 1-2 punch of super cold menthol and hemp CBD. Simply roll CryoFreeze onto your back, neck, hands, and any other painful areas to help block the pain, reduce inflammation, and improve muscle and joint flexibility. CryoFreeze contains 10 powerful ingredients that combine to provide a powerhouse dose of relief, which can last up to 8 hours, much longer than any other roll-on. Try CryoFreeze today and learn why so many people have rated it 5 stars and have written so many letters thanking Omax for the life-changing relief they're getting from this product. Look, I'm using it right now. My neck and shoulder have been killing me. I put it on every day. It is amazing. It's amazing. Omax is offering my listeners 20% off of a 1-month supply of Omax CryoFreeze plus free shipping. This discount also applies toward any product site-wise. So just go to omaxhealth.com today and enter code HoneyDew. That is omaxhealth.com and enter code HoneyDew to get 20% off Omax CryoFreeze and site-wide. Now let's get back to the do. All right, so you were at college at Irvine, and what kind of student were you? Were you doing well?
A studio art major who didn't graduate in 4 years. That's how much fun I was having at Irvine.
So did you quit or did you drop out or what?
So
happened?
I did 4 years at UC Irvine, and then
without a bachelor's.
Right, because like they were like at the end of the 4 years, they're like, look, we'll let you walk, but like you're missing, but you shouldn't.
I'll be the judge.
It's like, I don't know how much walking I could do. Right. They're like, we'll let you walk, but you shouldn't have failed those 2 science classes like your sophomore year because those are not the credits that you're missing. Like it was either 2 science or 2. I failed cosmology twice. Which is the study of the stars. And so, and that counted for math for some reason also, because it's like physics or some shit. And so I was missing 2 math units or 2 math credits. So at the end of 4 years, they're like, yeah, we'll let you walk, but just so you know, like you have to come back next year and finish up these 2. I'm like, A, I'm not walking. Graduations are a waste of time. Second of all, I'm not coming back. I'm not giving you thousands of dollars to take 2 classes. I could wrap up this breathwork
online, right?
At community college.
Oh, okay.
So I went to LA Community College or LA
So wait,
Valley College.
I didn't know you could do that. You could start, because I went the other way. I went community to a 4-year. You went 4-year to a community, and you can do that?
Well, yeah, because if it's a normal breadth requirement, or if it's
just a general elective,
just a general
you can
thing.
knock
Like
them out.
like a lot of schools offer classes that a lot of other universities will count. Because like you transferred from a community college to that.
But I got my AA
works backwards.
first, and then I took all those. It was something, at least back then too. We're talking about the 1900s. If you didn't have, I think you had to have the AA. You had to get all the credits and then transfer. If you didn't, that's when a school will go, okay, well, we'll take these 20, but not these. But if you had done it with a degree, I think they took everything into consideration. At least a lot of schools did, yeah. But other ones were like, we're not taking that fucking, you took cosmetology. We're not taking that
And you
shit.
failed it twice, bro. Twice. You didn't remember those test answers?
Makeups, bro?
So I talked to my academic advisor, and I was like, what classes can I take that would count for this at Valley College? And she's like, you could take this one that says Intro to Computers in Today's Society. I'm like, that counts for math? And she's like, yep. I'm like, okay, sign me up. So I signed up for it, and like assignment number 1, Ryan, was not write an essay about this thing. It was copy the essay out of this book into Microsoft Word.
Come on.
So that we know that you're not completely stupid. And it's like, press tab to indent, like a 1.5 spacing. Like it's literally teaching you Microsoft Word. I'm like, oh, this is a fucking cakewalk. And so from that point on, I'm like, oh, I don't need to study. I don't need to do work. I don't need to do shit. I just need to show up for the midterm and the final. So I show up for the midterm, and the first question is like, what connects the information bus to the GPU? I'm like, this wasn't covered in the first homework. Like, I think I'm in trouble, dude. And so it's all an electronic test. Yeah, it's all an electronic test. And it tells you your grade right when you submit it. Like, it tells you what you got on the midterm right when you enter.
Really? So you know?
Yeah, so and here's the other thing. It's on the midterm our class was separated into 2 computer classes, but there's only a teacher for both of those classes. So the teacher's just going from one class to another, and you're taking the test on a computer which has access to the internet. So I'm just seeing everyone's, just the second the teacher leaves, everyone pops open Google, and they're just like, popping it in the questions. Even with cheating, Ryan, I got a C-.
I got a 71.
I got a 71 while cheating. I'm copying and pasting these questions into Google.
But you passed, though, right?
Right. So I passed. And so I come home, and my dad's just like, how'd you do? Like, how was the test? I'm like, not going to lie, Dad. I'm a little worried if I'm going to pass this class or not. And without even missing a breath, he's just like, I'll bet you $250 you fail. I'm like,
I'll bet you or I'll pay you. What'd he say?
He said, I will put $250 on that you fail this class. Meaning if I fail this class,
you owe him $250.
I owe him $250. And you're right. There is a better way to say that, which is if you pass this class, I'll give you $250.
Yeah.
But that's not how my dad's incentives work.
You're like,
My dad doesn't incentivize like that. He's just like, yeah, you're going to part with some money. That's what'll do you. And so I'm just like, okay, whatever. I know I have access to Google during these tests. I'm fine with it. So I take the bet and I start really studying. I start opening up this book. I'm just like, oh, the information bus is going to the graphics processor and all this shit. Like I'm teaching myself how computers work. And I go into the final, and Ryan, it is still very difficult for me. I'm still Googling and cheating, and it is so difficult. None of these words even make sense to me. Like, I don't get it. And
But
so,
are you going to class this entire time, or are you not showing up either?
maybe like once a week.
But how many times are you supposed to be there?
3 times. Yeah. So yeah, like I'm not doing the work.
And this is the only class that's keeping you from this bachelor degree?
Yeah, but like a degree in studio art.
I hear you.
I
but
can't
still,
do shit with it.
Still, to wrap this thing up,
Yeah.
this is the class.
It would have made my parents and my grandparents really happy, but their happiness isn't important to me. So
No, fuck them.
So my dad
You're
makes a
happy,
bet with me.
goddamn.
I'm studying for this test. I go into the final, still difficult. Press submit. And I think I got like a B, some sort of B on this final. And like, because everything's electronic and grades are already in, it gives you your grade on the final, and then it gives you the grade
Overall.
of the class. And so the grade that I got was a 69.5,
Come on.
which
But wait, a C minus and a B, were there other assignments that you just weren't turning in?
probably.
I mean,
I wasn't going to class.
A 70 and an 80, you should pass, you know.
Yeah. I think, you know what? That does make sense. I think a lot of missing assignments
Attendance may have helped.
I didn't even know what I was missing. You know, there were pop quizzes that were coming out. I wasn't taking them.
A 69.5.
And so the first thought in my mind is just like, I don't have $250. What am I going to pay my dad?
But
with?
what's failing, by the way, in that class? Was it 70 was the minimum?
Well,
for that?
I think a D plus was still technically a
Yeah.
passing grade, but I don't know. I think at my high school it wasn't. So I think in my head it was burned in that
Look,
a D
in my
plus
head,
is a fail.
Ds are not.
Yeah,
No.
D's are not
C-
satisfactory.
No, at all.
Parents are not
C
proud
and
of
up.
D's.
No.
They're not proud of C's either.
they're
and
not.
so I get scared, and I'm like, I don't have this money to lose. So I immediately go up to my teacher. I'm like, look, this says that
I'll give you 250. If you make that a 7 and a
how much
0.
do Community Valley College professors actually make? Because this Abraham Lincoln could really
Yeah.
get you a couple Big Macs. So I go up to him like, look, this is a 69.5. Can we just bump this up to a 70? He's just like, yeah, I was gonna do that without you asking me. I'm like, oh, great, huge relief off my shoulders. And I go to my car in the parking lot, and I'm just like, I'm going through this roller coaster of emotions. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I failed my class, but then I didn't, and now, like, I don't even think that my dad owes me money. I just know that I don't owe my dad money because that's how he incentivized it.
Yes.
And so like I call my dad. I'm like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what just happened. And he's like, what? I'm like, I did the test. It was difficult. I got a B on it, and then like my overall grade was a 69.5. But my teacher like said that he was gonna bump me up to a 70. Isn't that great? And then like there's a moment, and he's just like, so you owe me $250. And I'm like, what? Just like, yeah, remember we had a bet? I'm like, and then it all starts coming back to me like, why did I call my dad? Why did I want to share this good news with my dad? Like, this is just going to bite me in the ass. And so now we start going back and forth. Who owes who money? My dad is telling me I owe him $250. And I'm arguing, no, I passed the class, so you owe me $250. His argument is that, like, look, your grade isn't based on how good of a talker you are. Your grade is based on the work that you do. And the work that you did got you a failing grade. So you owe me $250. This is now an argument that's going across the 6 members of my family on who owes who money. People are taking sides. This is dividing the family.
I'm going to take your side because the argument was you're going to fail the class.
Right.
He didn't fucking factor in
Yeah.
curves or a teacher.
Yeah, he didn't
saying,
do fine print shit.
He didn't fucking factor in. That's his bad.
So we're going back and forth.
I want 250.
It's a Sabbath dinner. It's a Friday
Oh,
evening.
God.
It's a Friday evening. And I tell my dad, I'm like, look, I don't know what you want. Like, I have a passing grade. And then he goes, why don't you give me your teacher's email address? I'm like, what? He's like, I want to talk to him. I'm like, and ask him what? He's like, I just want to ask him some questions. And I'm thinking, like, oh, okay. So now he kind of broke the stalemate because there's no way I'm giving him my teacher's email address to do what? To convince him to fail me?
Fuck that.
And so like, this is completely stupid. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, you're not getting it. And so there's just like, whatever, we're going to be fine with, like, I'm not paying him. He's going to keep on like hanging this over my head. And then I had a thought, Ryan, and that's that my dad doesn't know what my teacher's email is, which means I could just make one.
Anything.
So I created an email account with my teacher's name, whatever, at yahoo.com. And I fake an exchange back and forth between my real address.
Really did. He really emailed you.
I forward the exchange between me and the fake email address to my dad, being like, hey, this is me explaining to my teacher that I had a bet with you and that we want him to weigh in. And I just forwarded it to him. And I know it's not going to my teacher. It's just going to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I just won the stalemate because there's no way he's going to reply back to my teacher. The next morning, I see a response in the fake email account I made for my teacher. And my dad wrote a fucking essay.
Come
on how he's failing as a professor. Because he's teaching his students that they don't need to put in the hard work as long as they could sweet talk someone.
Just because he wants, but that
he
teacher,
wrote an essay.
In that teacher's defense, he had no idea you had to bet until you walked up anyway.
Dude, it's
insane.
He's actively trying to convince my teacher and like
my son's
teacher
doing a shitty job. You're doing a shitty job.
My teacher had an Italian name, and my dad writes in the email. He goes, "It's a Mamma Mia in your world, and Oy vey in our world." And I'm like, he was gonna write this, and it's a full
comparing a Mamma Mia to an Oy vey.
And Ryan, this is an essay full of arguments I've never heard him make before. So he's bringing new shit to the table to try and convince like my teacher to fail me. I can't believe what's happening. And so a week passes. We have another Sabbath dinner.
You don't respond. You just let it go.
I think I don't know if a full week passes. I think it was a couple days. Like I think I probably did this shit on a Wednesday, and then like Thursday I woke up to that email and I tell everyone like. Actually, no. I don't think I told anyone yet because if I told them that he replied, then they'd know that I had the access. So we have another Friday night Sabbath dinner. And, like, I tell everyone, like, yeah, apparently, like, I gave my dad the email. Like, I don't know if he responded to anything yet. And my dad's like, oh, yeah, I responded. I'm like, okay. He leaves to go take a shit or something to the bathroom. And, like, then my family, like, my two sisters, my brother, my mom, they're all looking at me. They're like, I can't believe you gave dad your teacher's email address. And then I'm like, can you guys keep a secret? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's not my teacher's email address. That's mine. And they're like, what? Nadav, you would lie like that to your family? I'm like, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would. And I'll do it every day. And they're like, that's really fucked up. I'm like, cool. Could you not tell him till he pays me, though? And they're like, yeah, of course.
Well, we want half of that money.
Yeah, they're like, this is already paying off.
Yeah.
This is already more than $250 worth of entertainment. And so after they got filled in, I just responded back from the email account being like, look, Mr. like I wrote in my teacher's voice, Mr. Itzkowitz, I don't know what you're trying to convince me to do, but I'm telling you your son passed my class. Outside of that, you guys could argue about whatever you want, but your son passed my class. And then once I send that email, I come home to my room like later in the day and there's just $250 like on my keyboard.
All right, good on, Dad.
I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. The second I see that, I'm like, cool. Time to reply back, like send another email from my teacher's email account in Hebrew being like, fuck you, old man. I got one over on you. Sent that. Immediately get a phone call from my dad. And he's like, you owe me $500.
Now it's $500
because I owe him the $250.
The $250
he
back,
paid me, and then the $250 of the original bet.
He is not letting up.
He's a real piece of shit.
He's an Israeli jeweler, bro.
Yeah, he's
an Israeli jeweler.
Expect this shit from
got
Israel.
That eye, you know, that eye.
Expect this shit.
Has he ever let it go?
No.
Still,
no. It's like if
you got that money
if
now.
There's ever a thing that comes up about school or college or whatever, it's just like, you still owe me $500. I'm like, fucking, good luck getting it from you, man. Possession's 9/10 of the law.
God damn, he is ruthless.
Yeah, real Israeli guy.
You want to talk about the health problems you had?
Yeah. All right.
I just want everybody to know that this says worst 3 moments of my life in 5 minutes. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, dude. This was a real rough patch. So in addition, so while I was in Orange County working at Weed Maps, in addition to me limping every day, I was getting sick pretty often. And like, I'm someone that usually gets sick sometimes once a year. Sometimes I don't get sick in a year. Like, I have a pretty strong immune system, or at least I thought I did. So I started getting sick like every couple months, like every like 3 or 4 months I got something. And like, it wasn't even like it would just be body aches that lasted for 24 hours and then I'd be back to normal. So it happened like every 4 months, then it happened every 3 months, happened every 2 months, happened every month. And by the time I moved back home and was done with like this, with all the knee surgeries and stuff, I was getting sick every month. And then it happened twice in 1 month. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. And so I go to some doctor, a really terrible doctor who's just like, this is just allergies. Don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm not allergic to anything. He's just like, okay. Sends me off. I'm like, all right, that was kind of weird. Start getting sick every week now. Having fevers, body aches. Like, I'm having violent chills where my body is physically convulsing from having chills. And it gets to a point where like I'm now sick every day. My fever goes up to what we record at 106.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so as soon as we see that, my mom's like, okay, we're going to the emergency room.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So we go to the emergency room, and there's an infectious disease specialist there, arthritic, rheumatoid specialist, like just all these different specialists that are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it turns out my dad has these issues too. My dad had diverticulitis.
Explain what diverticulitis is.
So what it is that it's you start getting these pockets in your intestinal tract. Food starts filling that up. It starts rotting, and then when a little piece like starts, at least this is how I understand it. I could be completely wrong, but this is how I understood it. Pocket starts filling up with food. Food starts rotting, and then either a piece of the rotting food will then get into the system, and then your body thinks it's an infection and starts fighting it, which is why I got sick so often. Or even worse, that pocket ruptures.
Ooh.
And then you start getting septic.
Okay.
You start going into septic shock. So I think what was happening was the pocket was beginning to tear because I was getting sick so often that's what was happening. So I was in the hospital for like a full week before they even realized that's what was happening. And so they're like, this is not good. Like, you're 25 years old. This usually happens to 60-year-olds and above. Because everyone usually gets diverticuli, like these pockets, but it's normally not anything bad enough to operate on. Mm-hmm. I'm a 25-year-old with this, but I mean, in my defense, it was, I was on a steady diet of just like French fries the year before. And I think that's a big part of it. Just a lack of fiber. I thought salad was dumb.
Right.
Vegetables are for losers. And it's just like steak and potatoes. That's what I'm all about, you know? And so I think that's probably a big part of it. And so was in the hospital for a week. About a week in, they figured out like, oh, you have diverticulitis, one of the pockets, like you're starting to get septic. That's probably what this is. And so at that point, it's just like, okay, so here's the game plan. You now need to get better. We need to wait for your inflammation to go down. And then once it's down, we're going to remove 10 centimeters of your colon.
Damn.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay. And I had just recovered from my knee surgeries. And I'm like, oh, this is going to take a while, isn't it? So I'm just out of commission for a long time as soon as I moved back to Los Angeles. So, I have to do like all these exams, like all these checkups and shit. Cause like I was in the hospital for like 10 days.
Jesus.
And so they're like, hey, we're going to set you up for this CT exam, to see if your inflammation has gone down enough. And so like they send me the paperwork and the email to sign off, and I see it says CT rectal exam. And I'm just like, that's weird. Like, I didn't know rectum had more than one definition is the first thing that came into my mind.
Right.
Because they didn't tell me explicitly they're shoving something up my ass.
Yeah.
I'm just like, they would fucking tell me that before just sending me paperwork. So I don't even think twice about it. I go to the imaging place like near Cedars-Sinai, and I walk in and I say hi to the tech, My mom takes me. So I say hi to the tech, and the tech just looks at me. He's like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I've never done this exam on anyone as young as you." I'm like,
wow,
I'm like,
really.
I don't want to hear that.
Got me a nice tight butthole here.
Yeah, and so and at this point, I still just think they're doing like an IV contrast.
You guys just.
It's like you guys are just.
You're pinpricking me. Right?
And keep in mind, when I walk in, Ryan, I see those like stands that have the IV on it.
Yeah.
So I see one of those stands.
The 5-wheel stand.
I see an IV
We
bag
used one in Cut,
with
man.
a tube coming from it going straight into something that's shaped like a dick. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's weird. That's probably he probably has a stacked day today. I wonder who that's for. And so then he starts explaining to me what's going to happen. And I'm like, I'm starting to connect the dots. I'm like, oh my God, I think that thing is for me. And so I'm like, I as soon as I connect those dots, I'm like, hold on. That's going in me? That
Give me a measurement here. What are we talking about?
A dick-sized thing, this big. It was the size and the shape of a dick.
Size, or
it was girthy. It was.
Was it as big as wood?
My fingers wouldn't be able to connect if I went around.
That's a big dick.
My fingers wouldn't be able to connect around it.
Talking about that thick?
Yeah,
that's a big.
like that.
That's a thicker
dick. Than this. And they say Dr. Drew says nothing bigger than this should go in your rectum. So you know what? Maybe it was exactly this.
What's he say?
He says nothing bigger than the OK sign in your rectum, in your asshole.
Okay.
So maybe it was exactly this size. Maybe that's how I'm remembering. Oh, actually, yeah. You know what? Okay, because that leads to another part of it. So he's now explaining to me, like he's trying to chit chat and make me feel comfortable. He's just like, man, you're the youngest person I've ever had in here. Like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, okay.
It's not the history I want to make, but
I'm in a hospital gown. And so he first does the IV contrast, puts me into the CAT scan thing, takes me out, and he's just like, okay, we did that part. And now we're going to, go into the rectal part of the exam. And then I'm just like, oh, this really is happening. Like, oh, so how does this work? He's like, well, first of all, you're really lucky. You have good insurance. I'm like, why? He's like, because they're letting me use KY for this.
You gotta be fucking with
I'm
me,
not joking.
Come on, dude.
I'm just like,
that's not an inside joke he uses.
Dude, he literally said that to me. I'm just like, lucky boy. What a lucky boy I am. And so I'm like, so how does this work? He's just like, yeah, it's really crazy with these old people because like a lot of them don't have like their muscles are so relaxed down there that they can't keep everything in because we have to put all this IV contrast in.
Oh God!
And so I'm like, so how do you?
This guy's job.
I was like, so how do you keep it in? He's like, I press this little button. I'm like, what does that button do? He presses it, and an inflatable thing starts inflating around the dick. So it's like, imagine someone took a condom, inflated it, and then wrapped it around this dildo thing so that it creates a seal.
A shit barrier?
So it creates a seal.
Oh, my God.
And so I'm like, okay, so this thing's going to go in my ass. This thing is going to inflate in my ass. And then all this liquid is going to come rushing in my ass. And I'm like, this is going to be rough. This is going to be really rough.
And you're not being in twilight or put out or anything for this? You're just wide awake.
I'm fully conscious. This is
God.
like 7 o'clock in the morning. I just woke up. And so he's just like, all right. And he like puts the KY on it, KY in it. Oh, yeah. And before this, as he's explaining all this, my mom is in the room with me too. And so as soon as she realizes.
This is no big deal.
She didn't know that thing was going in my ass either.
How the hell?
And as soon as we both connect the dots, she's like, Nadav, do you want me in here? I'm like, absolutely not.
I'm good, Mom.
And so I'm like, you go into the waiting room.
You wait outside and listen to the screams.
And so he starts lubing up this dick-shaped probe. And he's just like, all right, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, goes in on 2.
On 2.
And like,
motherfuckers.
Ryan, this guy was not gentle. It was just like, in the span of one breath, he was all the way in. And like at that moment, you feel something so severely traumatizing like that, you don't think into the future. And so I just like, as soon as that goes in, I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst fucking moment of my life. This is the worst fucking moment of my life.
You're ever present.
And as I finish that thought, I hear, all right, get ready for inflation. I'm like, what? And then he presses the button. And this thing now
you feel it?
Inflates in my ass.
Do you feel it?
Yeah, Ryan.
And like how?
It feels like someone's
trying to describe.
It feels like someone's fucking me in the middle of my asshole. It feels so bad. It
There's a balloon up your ass. There's all kinds of shit
a
up your ass.
balloon is actively inflating in my ass. And so I just finished the thought, that's the worst moment of my life. And then the thing inflates. I'm like, oh, never mind. Oh, God. That's the worst moment of my life. And then, that hurts so bad that I'm just like, oh my God, okay, Nadav, we're getting through this. And he goes, all right, here comes.
And has that whole thing up in there?
Mm-hmm.
It
inflates at the base. It inflates at the base, so he has to go all the way in to get that seal.
Lightsaber up your.
He is fucking me with this dildo thing, and so it is now inflated in my ass. And I correct myself. I'm like, oh no, wait, this is the worst moment of my life. And then he goes, all right, get ready for the contrast. I'm like, what? And then all this liquid, all this contrast just rushes into me. And I would say it feels like the opposite of diarrhea, where instead of stuff violently leaving you, this liquid is violently entering you. Because it's hung up over here, so it's just using gravity to just go in. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, it's now, you're starting to feel full. Because, like, this shit's going into you.
So is the purpose to flush you out? Is that what it is?
No.
Or is
They
it
put
just to
iodine.
Pump it okay, so
they put iodine in there.
On his
yeah,
screen.
so they pump iodine into my asshole. They put me into this CT thing, and they take a scan so that they could see how inflamed everything is. And they could tell if it's inflamed enough to operate on. And so then they take me out, and now this stuff is like now draining out of me. And the guy's like, you're probably going to want to like sit on the toilet for about 15 minutes for all this stuff to come out. I'm like, okay. And so he takes it out. He's just like, oh man, there's like some blood on this. I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, no, it just means that you don't do this a lot. And I'm like, okay.
Or ever.
I'm like, yeah, don't be so fucking surprised. I don't just take all these
back there.
fucking dicks in my ass left and right. Like, yeah, this is just a fucking 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, bro. Fucking A. So he's like still cracking jokes. And then my mom. Okay, so then I change out of my gown and I put my clothes on. And my mom, she tells me she's never seen me like this. She's like, you were pale white. And like, you're always smiling. You're always laughing. I've never, like, you were just expressionless. And then
Should have seen me in the room, though.
at this point, it's 10 a.m. And she's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, can we go get ice cream? I'm just a sad boy, a sad 25-year-old asking for his mom to take him to get ice cream after they just fucked him in the ass with this medical exam.
God
And Ryan, no ice cream places are open at 10 a.m.
I guess not.
So we went to this Israeli place that really just filled with asshole waiters. Like, it's just fucking god awful. And so, oh yeah, but here's the catch. So that was just to check my inflammation to see if I was like ready to be operated on. Inflammation didn't go down enough. So like, sorry, we can't operate on you yet.
You got to do it again?
So a couple months later.
For real? You had to do it twice?
A couple months later, I'm like starting to work again, right? I'm like starting to get post-production gigs. Like I'm making relationships with directors and stuff. Like I'm becoming people's like go-to person. And like I am with this director, like we're having an editing session for this music video or whatever. And I get a call from my doctor saying like, hey, just want to let you know, 6 months have passed since we had that test. I think it's time to take another test to see if the inflammation's gone down enough for us to operate on. And I'm just like, nope. He's like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that test again. And he's like, Nadav, come on, man. Like, you have to do
your knee.
Yeah, you have.
It's your asshole.
You have to do, like, we have to know going into it if we could operate on you. I was like, doctor, let me ask you a question. You have a mom? He's like, yeah. I'm like, how old is she? He's like 70 years old. I'm like, would you tell your mom to take this test? He's like, yeah, I would tell my mom to take this test. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not your mom, and I've already taken this test. I know what it's like going into it. The only reason I was okay with it the first time, I didn't know what I was getting into. Now I know, and you're telling me that there's absolutely no way that you could figure out that my inflammation has gone down without shoving this thing up my ass again. And he's like, I mean, I guess we could give you some anti-inflammatories and like wait a month or two and then like make you do a breath test or something. I'm just like,
That's a thing.
Breathe. Just breathe into a
Just
bag.
exhale.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Yeah, really wish we did that the first time. And so I asked him if he would force his mother to do that test, and he said yes. And I still told him to go fuck himself, and then I'm not doing it again. So then
And you've never done it again?
I've never done that CT rectal exam,
But did you find out if your health is okay?
Well, I mean, we got 10 centimeters of my colon removed.
So you did go through the surgery.
Yeah, just not that part of the test. They knock you out for that surgery. They don't knock you out for the CT rectal exam.
But did you do the breath exam? Is that what you waited to take that option, or how?
I think so. I might be confusing my timelines. Like it might be like I think the breath test is some sort of anti-inflammatory test. I could be wrong though.
Okay.
I'll ask Dr. Drew.
But then you went for the surgery, had 10 centimeters of your colon removed. Mm-hmm. And how long were you out of commission after that?
Probably like another 6 months, because after that I had to walk around with a PICC line.
Damn.
Which is like, it's a thing that you carry around that just injects you full of antibiotics throughout the entire day. And like, I remember the first event that I hung out with my friends at, I went to this concert, and it was like a couple weeks out of surgery. And like, I finally like feel like I'd gotten enough strength to go out, and it was like my favorite band from high school. So I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like a high school reunion. Like all my friends always go to these shows. And so I go, and like as I'm getting patted down, I'm like, this is actually pretty dope. Like I feel normal again. And as I get patted down, the security guard like starts patting me down, and he like sees this thing. He's like, whoa, what the fuck? And then he like sees the thing. He's like, oh, yeah, just go right in, man. You're fine.
Oh,
like,
really?
He treats me like a handicapped person. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know if I like that, but I should have snuck a lot more weed in. I don't know if I like this preferential treatment, but this is ripe for abuse. But yeah, that was walked around with a PICC line for like a month or two, and
well, I'm glad you're all right.
Yeah, worst 3 moments of my life within a 5.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I just want you to know, for what it's worth, I enjoyed hearing about it.
Great. I'm glad it was fun, man. I hope these were interesting.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I feel like I know you probably way too well now, Nadav.
Yeah. Yeah. You know I'm a bleeder.
Well, means you don't do this a lot. A lot. Doesn't mean you don't do it at all.
Doesn't mean I don't do it.
I mean,
it means I don't do it often.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate you sharing your stories. And if you want to promote anything again, please do.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
16-year-old self.
Oh.
You're not a repeat guest. So
okay.
What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Advice to my 16-year-old self is fuck what anyone else thinks. You know, do what feels right to you. You're living your life. What other people eat don't make you shit. I learned that from R. Kelly.
Quote R. Kelly.
Yeah, you know, maybe that kind of ages like milk a little bit.
Yeah,
but like
a lot.
Still good words.
Sex
though.
offender.
What they eat don't make us shit. Real talk. So it's that. You know, it's don't live your life based like in fear of what other people think of you. As long as you're having fun and doing what you like, not lighting yourself on fire to keep other people warm, you're fine. If you're happy, you're good. And if you're not happy, change something.
Great. Promote whatever you'd like, please.
Follow me on Twitter, YMH BlueBan. Follow me on Instagram, Very Nadav Show. And follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Very Nadav Show.
All right, man. Thank you for doing this. As always, I'm Ryan Sickler, ryansickler.com. Get your night pants. Subscribe to my YouTube. We'll talk to y'all next week.